Hello and welcome back to Audiotree Live. Today is Thursday, June 12th, and we're coming at you from Chicago. My name is Jason. I'll be your host today. If you haven't, please make sure to like and subscribe to the page below. And of course, as usual, you could find this session now streaming anywhere on any streaming service, including Apple Music and Spotify. And now, a band that combines the sound and feeling of industrial music and metal with a very eclectic sense of experimentation, whose music may take you on a left turn at any given moment. Melted Bodies. Take it away, fellas.
I got a stain on my shirt to match the state of my mind. A little bloody red hurts. Wait, that's just ketchup. I got problems with me that are problems for you. And like the stain on my shirt, I'm okay keeping my life sloppy. We're gonna sit on my side to match the state of my life. You got your mess in your head while I'm up here wearing red. Maybe my problems with you, not me. At least I let it all my shit. I can't for you not to love me with
sensitive man, but you only want a man that's sensitive to your needs. You're what they call one of them pretty girls. Well, it just means you live in a different world. Give me that and give me this. You'll never feel alone, cause there's always someone next in line to give you this. And I'm standing right beside you, screaming in your ear. You look away, you pretend not to hear. You're surrounded by yes men and perverts and B-list celebrities and gossiping bitches and rocker boys and industry sluts. They don't see you as a little piece of meat, a little piece of meat for them to chew and spit, chew and spit, chew and spit, chew and spit.
Hey guys, this has always been something strange for us here at Audiotree. Over 88% of you who watch our videos are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, which is kind of crazy if you think about it. So could we please ask you a favor? If you like this show, and you like discovering new music and you want to support us, the free and simple way to do that is to just hit the subscribe button. And our commitment to you is that if you do that, our team will continue to get the best bands we can. We'll listen to your feedback. We'll book the bands you want to see on the show, and we'll continue spreading the word of live music to the world. Thank you so much. That was The Avalanche by Melting Bodies. And what a powerful song. That was awesome, guys. Moody, yet very heavy.
That's what we do best, Jason.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you bringing your best here. So welcome to the show, guys. From my understanding, you are currently on tour with Horse the Band right now, right? You guys just played your first show last night in Grand Rapids?
Correct.
How did it go?
It was so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there was like a little bit of the shakes and giggles and the, a little bit of nervousness, going out with them. It's a really big tour for them. I think almost every show is sold out. So it was rad being main support for them. We're really lucky that they took us out, and I think it was a good, get the shakes out and on to the next one.
Awesome. Yeah. Honestly, it does look like a very big tour. I mean, almost all the dates look like they're close to sold out, if not already sold out. I know tonight's show, even in Chicago, got a venue upgrade because of the sales. So
it did?
It's really cool. Yeah. It's supposed to be at a different place, and now it's at Bottom Lounge. So.
Cool.
Yeah, very cool stuff. It's exciting. I'm excited for you guys. Like, I remember getting The Mechanical Hand by Horse the Band when I was in middle school when that came out, because my friend told me it sounded like Nintendo music.
Yep.
So I can't believe that record is that old, and I think that's really cool. You guys are getting to be a part of that. Plus, I also saw you guys are touring with Heavy Heavy Low Low this summer.
Yep. That's coming up in about a month.
That's awesome. You guys pumped for that one?
So much. Yeah.
Nice.
It's
back in Chicago, too.
we've barely scratched the surface on touring in general, so this has been really good opportunities and having a blast.
That's awesome. That's great. So one thing I want to tell you guys right off the bat when I was doing my research on the band, I love how you guys run your social media accounts. One of the first things I notice sometimes about a band is the things that they are willing to say on social media. And I love it when a band just isn't saying like, here's the dates, here's a new song, here's this, with no personality. But you guys, it's just like all personality. And I'm talking about like, I looked at your Facebook page, and when I looked at what type of page you had listed, it was listed as a weight loss center.
Oh, yeah.
And then scrolling on Twitter, I see the tweet, or X, whatever we're calling it these days. The tweet is Budapest too long for a vanity plate, which is hilarious. So I just want to ask you guys, how did you guys decide to take this kind of approach with your social media?
Scott, I feel like you
I can throw it to Scott.
Yeah.
The Budapest, I'm assuming that was Scott that threw that one up there for for X.
That was actually Ben.
Was it really?
Very,
I don't remember that.
very haphazardly is how we approached it, and being bored of the requirement to fulfill that role. Sometimes do we skirt the line of maybe not doing enough, just posting dates and stuff? Maybe, but we have fun with it. And lately Instagram has become an amalgamation of all of us, but in the early days it was a lot of Ben and I, and then at this point I think X, which we oscillate in and out of deactivating that account, but we just check in occasionally to say some truly stupid things.
We also, just mentioning Facebook as a reminder, we got to do something on Facebook.
This is very true. Facebook
have
just directs people to Instagram.
Yeah, and we have people from like all over the world who hit us up exclusively on Facebook, and then we don't respond to them for months at a time. It's a real problem, so we got to figure that out. But
Yeah, Zuckerberg's gonna be pissed at us.
Well, I love it, guys. I think it's a really cool way for a band to add their own personality into it. And like, personally, when I'm consuming music, I like to get a sense of who the people are that are making it. So I think it's really cool you guys aren't afraid to even inject a little bit of humor in there. But the next question I want to ask you guys is, I would say, even just based on the two songs you played just now, you guys may just be the most eclectic band I've ever hosted on Audiotree. And I'm just talking about the array of different music and genres that you guys kind of cover here. It's really cool to hear sort of a song like Relax You Are Lazy, which is kind of, you know, keeps the pace going, but then the Avalanche kind of slows it down but brings such intensity to it. So I want to take this question back to the early days of the band and ask you guys, when the inception of the band came around, was the intention to make this music so interesting and eclectic?
Yeah, it's. I know that from the outside it's very eclectic, but from the inside it doesn't feel eclectic. So I think that's why it ends up working. we all listen to so much music, so many different styles. And the original sort of target was, conceptually, loosely was, a Cannibal Corpse meets Talking Heads. Huge fan of death metal and 90s metal in general, and then a big fan of post-rock or new wave, whatever you want to label it. So, and then from there, it's just keeping things evolving and changing. It's just the way the music is written. It feels very natural, but I can understand, especially doing the last two songs, how it is very different. But there's through lines, and I think that's what we're going to keep pushing on. And people understand or they don't, and that's the joy of it.
Yeah, I love it. I think it sounds so cool, and makes it you guys stand out so well. You know what I mean? Like, I couldn't even name another band that's able to put so much thought into that kind of music that makes it seem so seamless. And that being said, I would love to hear another couple of songs from you guys.
Cool. You got it. Just when you thought it couldn't get any more complicated, it does. And just when you thought it couldn't get any more convoluted, oh, it does. The exclusive period shall begin on the first and continue in perpetuity. This agreement cannot be terminated. Exploitations of your likeness and any creations associated with said creations are hereby owned and controlled by anyone but you.
That was the Hot Dog Contract. And now I need to ask, that little piece of paper on the floor, is that in fact the Hot Dog Contract?
This is the rant. This is the contract rant in the middle. And the truth? Do you want the truth or you want the show?
I want them both. Give me the truth and a show.
All right, the show is that I've made a copy of these for each one of the shows. And so I read it because it's the contract, and then I crumple it up and throw it down, and so they'll be scattered everywhere. So it's the hot dog contract available to everyone who wants to grab it. The truth is that it's the only rant in all of our songs that I still don't have memorized because it was written to be a gobbledygook of, bullshit contract lingo. So it doesn't make any sense, which is the point. So I just started writing it and keeping it with me rather than ad-libbing it during the sets. So that's the truth in the show.
I love it. I love the show aspect of it because I think it disguises the truth so well. And it's a cool thing. You know what I mean? Pulling out a little prop in the middle of the set. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, a question I want to ask everybody in the room, if we could go around to hear your answers. When listening to Melted Bodies, in a way, I feel like it almost lends itself to a cinematic element. If you guys could score one soundtrack for any movie existing or one made up in your head, could each one of you give me an answer on what that would be?
That's an interesting question.
Oh, that's a good question, though. That's a great question.
Shit.
Okay, I'll say two movies that just came to my brain immediately. Two films is one, I just saw Little Murders, if anybody's. It's originally written for a play. I think it's 1970s. Amazing movie. Really good writing. Not a lot of room for score, but when it is in there, I would love. It's super out there. It's very dark humor at points. And then I think a low-hanging fruit that would be so much fun would be Houda.
Oh, yeah.
Would be a great one. That's I think if you're in our world, you know that movie. If you're in horror
Love
at
it.
all, you know that movie. Anyone else know theirs?
I can.
Houda?
I can. Yeah. I think of it as like a 90s slasher, but like Scream meets Can't Hardly Wait. So like that type of silliness. That's just my wheelhouse. I'm like, it has that funness, but then the darkness of it all. So that's where my brain instantly went.
For Scott, it's hard replacing somebody's score for a film that I truly love, so I might go with No Country for Old Men because it has no score, and just taking a stab at that.
Moochie, you should go.
I also have a bit of a low-hanging fruit as far as mine goes. I'd say Gaspar Noé's Vortex.
Oh, wow. Sick.
Just because it's, I don't know, it made me panic a bit, and I feel like that's kind of what Melted Bodies is trying to do. Give you a bit of a heart attack.
Gaspar Noé is a good one. I'm going to go with Ken Burns' entire baseball series.
All
See that
right.
one.
Hell yeah. Perfect
Nice.
answer.
Oh man.
Awesome.
Can you imagine doing a Ken Burns
We're gonna
documentary?
score the history of country music by Ken Burns.
So, last October saw the release of your latest full length, The Inevitable Fork, which was preceded by 2 EPs of the same title. And there's so much I want to know about this release, from the inception of the project itself to the artwork to where the idea, even for the the idea of where the Inevitable Fork started. So, could you guys kind of tell me what the process was for this project, kind of where it started?
It was a long process, and that was for a number of reasons. Some of them very intentional, some of them sort of reactive to being a DIY band. So that side of it was, we wanted to ensure that we didn't wait too long before releasing new music after Enjoy Yourself. So we decided to, sort of trickle the songs out into 3 EPs that would culminate into a full album. Because given, that we're doing this all on our own and, we have jobs and it costs a lot of money to record songs like this, we piecemealed it. And then it also gave us time to write songs in the interim. So, we would record 3 and be writing songs at the same time. And then, and as far as The Inevitable Fork, that was originally just the song. And we were playing around with like album ideas, and I suggested The Inevitable Fork because it's not a conceptual album, but there is still a lot of more internal, sort of panic, anxiety, heavy depression. It's not a light album. So The Inevitable Fork sort of encapsulated a lot in the sense of not a physical fork, but sort of, we come to these inevitable choices whether that be a personal thing or, having to do with, family and death or, depression and anxiety, of sort of choosing a route to take that. And it felt like a good way to sort of encapsulate the record as a whole. And then on the surface, the inevitable fork, just even as a phrase, if you think of a fork, was a nice little treat to put on top.
Yeah, absolutely. Something I really want to ask you guys too, which was something I also noticed about the previous release that you guys had done, Enjoy Yourself with Friends. I noticed a trend in the artwork where you would release the first single and it would have an image, but then by the time Enjoy Yourself with Friends actually released the self, you see that artwork of that face, but it looks so much more degraded and whatnot. And I think that's such a cool idea. And I noticed that with the Inevitable Fork as well. You have these little bits of the artwork with each EP, then the final piece of the artwork for the record is the whole completed picture. So where did that idea come from?
Jason, I love your attention to detail.
Thank you. I
That's
appreciate
amazing.
that.
I'm so glad you noticed that. Put so much work into the artwork. So really appreciate that. And yeah, I think with Enjoy Yourself with Friends, that was an image I really wanted to push on the mouth, the dripping mouth. And I had made a mouth out of a bunch of different raw meats, which is the lips and the drips. That's like an actual thing that was, probably like this big that I, made and then photographed a long time ago. And I really wanted to incorporate that. But then I was like, oh, it'd be nice to put it actually on a face. And then, I started, made it sort of, decay and degenerate, or however you want to phrase it, over time. And it felt like a good progression because each time it got a little bit crazier and adding more songs. And same thing with the fork, is that I had the idea, I hadn't made it yet, but I had the idea of the used dentures, which I had like bought off eBay, and then I wanted it to be this floating ball. And then the background is actually tile from my bathroom, and I collected my hair that I combed. Like every time I'd slick my hair, I'd collect the hair. And then I would photograph that, and it's honey that I colored. But yeah, so just doing like the drip base and the logo, so it still felt cohesive, because I think, like you said earlier, with our music being so eclectic, we have to have certain through lines, even if it is something as small as the art, to make sure that it still feels poignant and melted bodies.
It's cool. I love when a band can actually hone in that kind of detail, even with the artwork. It shows that you guys really care about the music and what you're doing. And I think it's important. You know what I mean? I think it's really important to also have that visual representation for what you're trying to do, sonically speaking and creatively speaking. I think it's a really cool idea. And it was definitely one of the first things that kind of took my attention, where I was like, oh, I see what they did here. Here's a little bit of it. And now I'm checking out the full record, and here's the whole piece. I just think it's a really interesting and cool way to kind of progress your own release, if that makes sense.
We care a lot, Jason. We care a goddamn lot.
Good. I like it. Speaking of what you were saying earlier about the Inevitable Fork, I did find a quote on your Bandcamp about the record that really stood out to me. And that quote is, "Maybe we accept that it's all imperfect and we embrace our flaws to make new or try again. Or perhaps we avoid, stall, numb, or overindulge. We've all been told it's now or never, but yet we have heard that so many times. This stigma feeds our avoidance, unaccountability, and utter laziness. But rest assured, the Inevitable Fork is coming for us all, whether we appreciate it or appall it." And I think that says so much to me. And it's so interesting of a concept, because it really does reflect kind of what you had said earlier here about us kind of coming to these situations in life where we have no choice but to face these decisions. What does this quote mean to you?
God, I mean, it's such a dense quote that we came up with. And I mean, it's very personal to me, but I tried to make it, as, broad appealing without getting too specific in there. But yeah, I've always had a battle with that stigma of it's now or never, but we've heard that so many times of like, it's now or never, and then you feel like you fail, and it was like, so now it's never? Do I give up on this, or, life isn't fair, and it isn't, but that doesn't mean that you don't, keep pushing forward without saying a cliche, but that is true, and that has been a big part of my life. I've as we all have, I think you can quickly tell if someone else has failed or not by their demeanor. And usually if they've failed multiple times in their life, they're a pretty good, cool person. So I think, I think it's good just to like, let it out where you can. It's healthy to be angry. It's healthy to vent. It's healthy to have opinions, which leads to experience.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more with you. And lastly, what I really want to ask you guys is creativity in general with this band seems like it knows no bounds. It seems like there's a well of so much you guys can do, even with what the music you already have released out there. I really just want to ask, what do you think we could expect as listeners from the creative future of Melted Bodies?
I mean, anything and everything. I truly am a firm believer in doing what we believe in, and that, authentic fans and authentic listeners will follow. We already are working on a bunch of new music. If you ask me personally, I'm like, it's Melted Bodies for sure. I'm sure to an outside listener, like you said, it's like, it's very eclectic and very different. Scott handles a lot of like he did the last 2 music videos, killed it in like such a short time. So I'm sure, I don't want to speak for Scott, but I'm sure he has some stuff up his sleeves already thinking as he's listened to the new music demos and so on.
And just Andy's artwork. It's really fertile ground for inspiration and just running with it. Yeah.
I mean, merch too. I think that we're always experimenting with merch. I think that's something Andy loves, and we all listen to so many different things that I think that everything we put out, it's almost like a track record of something that we're all liking at the moment. To go through a Chemical Brothers phase, you start hearing a little bit of that in the record. You go through whatever, pick any reference point, you start hearing a little bit of it. And so I think that as we continue like loving music and loving art, I think you're always going to see a touch of what we, not taking it from something and copying it, but like a little bit of our little like secrets that we're kind of putting in that we're into.
The secret is we only listen to Chemical Brothers.
We only listen to Tame Impala. It's the only thing we listen to. Yeah.
I love it. I think that makes so much sense. You know what I mean? And I think that's cool that you guys are not afraid to wear your influences on your sleeve like that. Sure. It's always awesome. And that being said, can we hear your last song today?
Yes.
That you can.
Job, but I got a little money saved up, and I can afford it because I deserve it. It's gonna make everything better, and it's gonna make me feel better. What do you mean it's declined? I'm feeling a little knocked out. The pressure of wanting it all. I can't remember why I'm at these shoes. The bleeding of my body. I'll tell my life, I'll tell my life. And the last time I was by, I bleed and I scream on.
All right, we are now here at the unfortunate end of our show. Thank you, everybody. Thank you to the camera crew here at Audiotree. Thank you to the audio crew here at Audiotree. And thank you, Melted Bodies, for the amazing performance today. Lastly, I'd like to thank our viewers. As usual, you could find this session on Apple Music and Spotify. If you feel so inclined, hit that subscribe button and leave a comment on what you think about the session today. Once again, my name is Jason. Thank you again for your time, and we'll see you next time.
All right, so you guys want to do it for real now?